some of the guys, I see it's coming in more and more. We've got about, Rabbi Schwab, we have about 40 guys, 40 of the Talmidim that have wanted to come and hear your words. Obviously, Torah and emes are almost synonymous, that they come together. And there's so many words of emes that we've all heard from Rabbi Schwab over the years. And Mitzvah, we're very fortunate to have a chizuk from Rabbi Schwab. And everybody who wants, the Rabbi Schwab's number was already posted by Joey after, and he'd be love to hear from you guys. So take down that number, be in touch with him. He would really appreciate hearing from you. Rabbi Schwab, we're looking forward to your divrei chizuk.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to hear people around, old Talmidim. I'm just going to say a few things over what we can learn from this situation. It shouldn't be a situation that passes and it was just, history. Oh, were you living at that time? It should be something which should have some effect on us. It's very clear that the situation in heaven is not a normal one. Big things are going on in Shemayim in these times. So many neshamas came up recently, so many sick people suffering, and people who have parnasa difficulties. But we are sure that with our kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within the din, that Hashem does the kindness and rachamim within the din. And we hope as Hashem that the same way in other situations were difficult in Klal Yisrael, that after the situation became Yeshua's and the Chomas, like we find in the Holocaust, when people thought it was the end of Klal Yisrael, people thought it was over, and afterwards came a new Klal Yisrael, a beautiful Klal Yisrael, which we are living today. So we also hope that Bez Hashem, that when all the suffering we had to go through, the end will be that we'll be able to see Simchas, Yeshuas, Nechomas, Parnasa for everybody. The fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us people to be the ones to go through these times must be that we can go through it. And we are going to be zocher to be able to appreciate and to learn from what we can learn from this situation. And Hashem will give us the strength to go through it its best way possible. Because there's no nisayon, there's no test that if Hashem gives it, it's not possible to be able to get through. And we're going to get through, and we are zocher, Bez Hashem, with all the difficulties that we should be zocher to be able to learn and to be able to fulfill the tafkid that Hashem wants with this nisayon. Like a Talmud Chacham told me, it's not just enough that we say, well, what does Hashem want from us in this time? A person has to become a total different person. It has to change the whole outlook of life and his connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has to come to realize a whole new view of what really life is all about. The first thing we can learn, the fact that we find ourselves a lot of the time alone, not in a normal schedule and routine of a day. The time when one gets up, davens, goes to work, sees his obligations, and now being alone gives a person time to think everything much more with relaxation. And a person gets to know himself, really himself, without being dependent on his daily routine. Let us start with the beginning of the day. One davens. When one davens alone and he can concentrate, he can learn much more than when he, in a certain way, than when he has to be fit into a shliach tzibur. This is the time they daven. Maybe I got a bit late. Maybe I have to now it's Shemoneh Esrei. Now it's Chazoros Hashatz, and he has to keep with the speed of whatever is going on. Now he has time that he's davening alone. He has time to think and translate the words. Do we know all the words all the words we are saying? Do we know the types of the words? Now it's time to realize, does he realize that every time we're davening, we're saying Shemoneh Esrei, we're standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? we realize to appreciate what it means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening to every word of me, little person. Hashem takes the interest in listening to everything that I'm asking for, that I want to say. He could feel much more what he wants to daven about. Instead of just saying the words and then a machinery and just saying what he says because it's the tefillah, which is the correct thing to do, that's what the Chazal say, he has time to think, what am I davening for? What do I want to daven for? So when the person is alone, he has much more of a chance. Of course, a person will be best resolved to go back to minyanim and to daven together. But the chance that we have now is a time when I can really start thinking, what am I davening? What do I want? What do I want to pray for? My family, everything. When we make a bracha, asher yotza, we make it a few times a day. Do we realize what we're saying? It is revealed and known in front of your kisei hakavod. If something opens up or something closes, do we realize what we're saying? It's revealed in front of kisei chavodecha every time we go to the bathroom. When we bench when we bench after a nice meal, Hazon es ha'olam kuloi betuvai. Hashem feeds the world, everybody, with his goodness, b'chein, favor, chesed, kindness, rachamim, mercy. Hu noising lechem, he gives bread, l'chol basar, to everybody. Ki la'olam chazdai, it is always his kindness. He doesn't owe us anything. It's all his kindness. Uvetuvai, again, his goodness. Hagodl, great. Tomid, all the time. Loi chosanonu, there's nothing lacking. Do we realize every time Biras Hamazon what we're saying? Do we realize that we're thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the land that he gave us, Eretz Yisrael? Do we realize that we're davening for Yerushalayim? Every time we bench, we're davening for Yerushalayim. We have now time to think. We have time to think what we're saying. Also, bein adam l'chavero. Normally, a person is not home most of the day. And now that he is much more home, we can check our actions. If I'm on the level that I want to see myself, regarding my chesed, my patience, how I speak, what I do in my private time, how and one can see himself in his really sense, instead of when he's out and working, he's making an impression, he has to sell his goods, he has to do, so he's not living really on himself. He is doing it because, he has to impress people, he has to be dressed a certain way, he has to act a certain way.
Then I go into the house. But
And now he's totally acting himself. When he's learning, it's a bit more difficult to learn now. He doesn't have his setup, he doesn't have his shir, and now he has to ask himself, do I really want to learn? Do I really want to learn? I have to now put more effort. So everything, in other words, we have to realize it's a very special time. And we shouldn't lose this chance, as Hashem will be over soon. But now that we have the chance to get to know your true self, and to see how you act in this situation, how I really behave, because that's really personal I am. Another point we can learn is to be an Eved Hashem. An Eved Hashem is not to do things out of habit and mood, but to ask himself, what does Hashem want me to do right now? When he goes to shul, and he has his place in shul, and he has his neighbor, and he has the nice davening, the Kabbalah Shabbos, the Keil Adin, it's very nice to go to a shul, and it's taka beautiful, and that's how it should be, and Bez Hashem will get to that. But now that we're in a different situation, and we don't have all these things, how is my davening? I'm davening because it's now a mitzvah to daven. Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv, whatever it is, Krishna. And now, Krishna Bismanoi, Tefillah Bismanoi, I have to be an Eved Hashem because it's not such an easy situation. At home also, his situation is not like normally when he's out of the house. He has to be able to, everything is different, and he has to be able to be flexible, to be able to serve Hashem. This is what Hashem wants me to do right now. It's not a useful situation, and Bez Hashem will be back. But now I have to learn how to just serve Hashem and to be flexible in any type of situation. In his business, in his work, some people are working at home, some people are going out. It's not easy. It's not the same. And if that's what Hashem wants, I have to have emunah and trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'll be able to make my parnasa, whatever's we decide Rosh Hashanah I'm going to get. And I should just accept myself to get used to a situation which is not as my comforts. See, even better, Hashem, when things go back to normal, I'll have already learned how to not be so, it has to be this way and has to go like that. And I'm upset with this one and this went wrong and here I made it. No, whatever the situation is, if that's what Hashem wants, I'm ready to accept it. The most important message is to learn, which I'm sure everybody is realizing, that we are totally not in control in anything in life. Not in health, not in parnasa. I can't do what I want. One thinks he's in control of his life and he can make his life the way he wants. And Hashem shows us, I'm the boss and he runs the world and nothing will help you. One is not in charge where he wants to go, where he wants to take a journey, where he wants to buy, to get together, meetings, to benefit the way we want to like. And those who were locked up in the quarantine when I came back from America after Pesach, I was locked in a room with my wife in a hotel. I went out of the room for 1 minute, half a second. I got screamed out, get into your room. 2 weeks I was in the room, not allowed to leave. It told me who's in control here. I'm not in control. And Baruch Hashem, made it. Baruch Hashem, we had a window to look out that we could be able to see outside. It was near the Tachana Merkazit near. We could see the train. And we could do something, that it was a job. And we have to realize that it's all for our good. It's all for God. We have to learn to be able to see, not to get caught up into Olam Hazeh. Of course, we're allowed to enjoy life. We're allowed to have comforts. But we sometimes get caught up. And we think that Olam Hazeh is what it really is. And we have to know what the mission says. This world is only a prosdar. We're only preparing ourselves. So as much as we're allowed to enjoy, and Hashem should bless us, that we should have work to be able to enjoy and enjoy life, but that's not what it's about. And this situation teaches us that even better, Hashem, when we go back, that's what we're here to learn. That's what Hashem gave us, this situation for everybody to learn, that Olam Hazeh is not everything. We're only here on a road, on a message, but we have a purpose to do. And that's what we're learning from this situation. One has to be able to learn to know a difference between that I have to be careful, zihus, I have to be careful, I have to have my mask on, shouldn't go to places, that I shouldn't put myself into mokum sakana. Because if I'm in a mokum sakana, then you know what happens? Shamayim asks, does this person deserve a miracle? Are we going to save him? Should we save him? Is he worth being saved? Because if a person puts himself into sakana, whether it's going in it, driving too quickly, or anything he puts into a sakana, and this situation also, if I put myself with too many people together, then I'm asking for Shamayim to start asking questions. Does he deserve to believe a miracle? But once a person does that, and he puts himself out of a sakana, and he's not in a dangerous place, then he should not worry at all. Then he should just do and not start worrying, and not getting depressed, and not feeling moody, oivei, chas v'shalom, it shouldn't happen to anybody, whatever. That's not the right hashkafa. The person is not allowed to, he has to trust that in Rosh Hashanah it's been decided that I'm going to live, and I'm going to be healthy, and that's where it's going to be. And Bez Hashem will help it, that we should all get through this. But in fear and worrying about, oivei, this, that, everybody gets panic, I've got a bit of a cough, chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. We have to be careful. But once I'm careful, totally to have faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not to worry at all. Bez Hashem, this situation will leave us soon. The lessons, such important lessons, just to be alone with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to have time to think, to learn to be a Eved Hashem, to be flexible, and not to be, it has to be like this, to be able to be, change situations. I can serve Hashem like this. And to realize the main thing is to realize I'm not the boss in anything. I'm totally not in control. I can enjoy myself. I can have a good life. I can go out and I'll go vacation. But that's not what life is about. And if we've learned these things, then when this situation, which is soon going to pass, Bez Hashem, will pass all of us, it won't just be, oh, yeah, you remember this, you know what happened over here. That's not what it's about. We're meant to have a total change, a different person. My outlook, my connection to Hashem, my being with people, my looking at Panosa, my going on vacation, everything that I do in life, I'm an Eved Hashem. I'm trusting in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not in control. I don't need to be in control. I don't want to be in control. I want Hashem to be in control of us. That's what I want. I just want to enjoy life. I want to be able to have Panosa. I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to spend time. That, yes. But just to realize that I'm totally not in control. Such a good thing that if we just take these messages, and I'm sure there's plenty more messages. These are things which I just felt did for me. And Baruch Hashem, I feel that, and I hope it keeps me up. That we're just different people now. It's like after Yom Kippur. You just prepared yourself for Yom Kippur, and you go through and you just leave Yom Kippur saying that I'm not the same person. I want to be different. I want to be closer to Hashem. I want to be closer to people in the right way. I want to be able to act so differently. If that stays with us, then Hashem will say, that's what I wanted. I just wanted to wake up Klal Yisrael. I just wanted you to be different. I wanted to be closer to me because that's best for you. Because this life is not forever. And we're going to come to the Bez Hashem after Me'eh Esrim and Trias HaMesim and Loss of Lavai. That's the life we're looking for, and that's the life we want to strive to be. And Bez Hashem, so these messages, very painful. People feel a lot of pain and suffering still. So many people are still suffering. People don't have Panosa. Bez Hashem, those people who never went, I'm sure they're in a good place. Those people who are sick, I hope they have for Shlema, all of them. And those people who have difficult Panosas, it will pass, and everybody will have Panosa. Hashem just telling us, wait a minute, don't think that you're in control. Don't think that you know it, what it's about. You've done nothing. It's all been decided before you were born, which Panos you're going to have, or your wife's going to be, or where your house is going to be. It's all been set up for you. Just connect yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Get yourself closer. If I have another couple of minutes, I'm just going to say you about Torah, a beautiful thing of the week Passion, Amidah, which we just learned. There's close to 80 psukim where the Torah tells us in Parshas Bamidbar, just counting Klal Yisrael, time and time again, twice in last Parsha. Hashem commanded Moshe Rabbeinu, Su'u es roish kol adas b'nei Yisrael mishpachosam l'beis avoisam mispa shemes, through their names. The Sipura says, because then, in that generation, everybody was important by his name, which showed what his personality, identity is, what he was a person. The Ramban in Pasuk Memhem says that Hashem commanded Moshe to count Klal Yisrael. Where did he count? In front of Moshe v'Aaron. Every single Jew, every single person passed Moshe and Aaron. And he asked them, what's your name? How are you? He put his eyes on them. Simu einehem aleihem einom letova. Bikshu alechem, he davened for them. Yosef alechem kochem elef paramim v'lo yamit misparchem. Can we be masik going out to Mitzrayim and Midbar? That every single person passed Moshe and Aaron, and he asked them, what's your name? Can you imagine? The whole Klal Yisrael felt each one as an individual and important. Moshe Rabbeinu asked me who I am, what my name is. You know what it felt like? For the rest of my life, I'm sure these people felt, Moshe Rabbeinu loves me. Moshe Rabbeinu holds on me. And it brought out the kochas hanefesh of each single individual. So what a person should think is, in his own heart, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created me, he created me with a special tafkid. What do I think my tafkid is? And if I know what it is, how do I think that I can fulfill it in the world? And am I really doing what I should be doing? That's really the personal connection between him and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah goes on in the same parsha and counts Klal Yisrael again. The Medrash says Ve'itchem yiu ish lamater, ish rosh leveis avosavu. So the Medrash says, Lama hutzuch eleminian ish lamater. Why did it have to say ish lamater? Kidei litin gedula chashivus lechol shevet v'shevet, to give a greatness and importance to each tribe. As it says, as we find, that there was no shevet that Shoftim and Nevim didn't come out of there. Why? Says the Medrash, Shekulam, to teach you that Kulam Shovim Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Each shevet was choshev in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they were all equal, because we find sometimes in the Torah this shevet is said first and that shevet is said first. So the Medrash says it's because they all were equal in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why in the Psukim there you see that they mention the names of the Shvatim. And if you look in the Medrashim, you'll see that each one's name was according to his tafkid, what he was meant to be. So we see two things. One thing is a person, how important he is for himself, between him and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the second is that a person, how he connects to Klal Yisrael. That he has a tafkid within Klal Yisrael, what he is meant to do as a tafkid. One, his own personal tafkid, and then a second one with this second tafkid that he's together with Klal Yisrael. My uncle, Reb Shimon Schwab, says like this. He says, why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu count the Klal Yisrael right over here? The Pasuk says that Ish al diglo ba'osas leveis avoisom yachenu b'nei Yisrael mineget soviv l'or moed. That when Klal Yisrael were all around together, that's when Hashem said he should count them. Why dafka now? So he explains, because Klal Yisrael were then all together by the Or Moed. Everybody was together. And Hashem commanded and said, go out 2,000 amas, north, south, east, west. Everybody has to go out, not so close, not far, not so close, in order that Shevet Levi will be able to be close, because that's their tafkid to be close. And it says in the Pasuk, Vayasu b'nei Yisrael k'chol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Bnei Yisrael did whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded. Kain chonu l'digleim. Everybody did. So my uncle answers, this is a very hard thing to do. They all wanted to be close to the Oren and close to the Oren Moed. And Hashem told them, no, this is for Levi. You should be over here. 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 And they didn't think twice in order to mechaber the Shevet Levi. In order to mechaber that was their tafkid, they had a job to be by the Oren Moed and to carry all the Oren and everything. And their tafkid was be over there. So my uncle said it's like a moshel. If we'll be in a shul, and I'm sitting over here in the Mizrach, and there's one bima, and the Gavak over to me says, excuse me, could you have your seat right back over there? Maybe you could sit, and he takes the people from the back and says, your seat is going to be over here. How will we feel about it? We're very uncomfortable. I want to sit over here. I feel next to the Orna Kodesh, next to the bima, whatever it is. And here's the lesson which we can learn over here. That Kadosh Baruch Hu told them, you have to learn to mechabit somebody else for his potential. To be able to be happy with accept your potential, whatever Hashem gave for you, and to be happy and to honor. That's when Hashem wanted to count Dafka the Klal Yisrael then. That they were able to leave the Shevet Levi without complaining and understanding that Shevet Levi, they are special Kohanim, the Levim, that they're next to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they will be carrying and being by there, that will be their place. And your place, no, it doesn't make you less. It makes you different. It doesn't make you less. But to be able to respect somebody else for his, that is the time when Hashem wants. That's how beautiful Klal Yisrael is. That I know my tafkid, and I know somebody else's, and I can respect somebody else what he has. That's when we come to Klal Yisrael. We should be all zocha, that we should be able to come out of this with tremendous chizuk. We should only hear simchas and nachas and brocha, and be'ez Hashem will all see the Bias HaMashiach B'mheira B'yomeinu Amen.
Amen.
All the best.
Thank you very, very much, Rabbi Schwab. I almost don't want to say, Tamu Uru, Kitov Hashem, get to taste the beauty of Torah. It's so appreciated. Rabbi Schwab, I don't know when's the last time you gave a shir where over 75 of your Talmidim were listening in. Hashem, you were just okay to do that. Many more, you should have many more good years. And to give over to all the Talmidim. We should be able to take Kabbalah from your Torah. I'm not going to take any time. Hashem, get to go from Mela or from one night to another. Mr. Hashem, Rabbi Slavin, looking forward to your Divrei Chizuk also.
I tell you, I couldn't resist being in this setting. This is not a virtual background. It's a background on the wall in the shiur room. And I figured, before Shavuos, the theme of the day is Uvao Kulam Bevris Yachad. It's Achdus. And just, seeing the updated faces on the screen and then seeing the old-time faces on the wall, it sometimes is a shock. But I'm sure you say the same about me. There's so many different areas to focus on. I just wanted to share a couple ideas. One of the ideas is that the Zohar Kodesh, the famous Zohar Kodesh that we all know. I don't even know where it is, so I'll have to look it up. But it says, Atzeres Tifkun Min Galusa, that on Atzeres, on Shavuos, will be redeemed from my exile. Now, okay, Rabbi, you said that before Purim, but Pesach, when's it going to happen? There's a svarm that say in Lag BaOmer, we're waiting. And it's almost anticlimactic now because it's already like the slowly, hopefully faster, that the Magefa is ending, and then everything seems to go back to normal. I want to take some guys a step back in time. I don't see too many guys from the year 90, 91 on this chat. Maybe they were traumatized too much. But we had a very interesting occurrence happening during that year, and it was known as the Gulf War. And during the Gulf War, it was a surreal period of time. I think it's probably what we were going through in this past few months was similar in a certain degree, but it was a much different thing. The information was so sparse. In other words, we had to keep our radios on the silent station just in case there was going to be a siren. You hear the siren, and you have to run to the room, put your masks on, whatever it was, and it was tension filled till you hear which area the missile's going to land in, and then you could kind of like an all clear, then you could go out of the room again. And then you weren't sure when the siren's going to hit again, so it's in and out, in and out, in and out. It was an insane time. And finally, when everybody was thinking, oh, maybe there's a sign Mashiach's coming, and for sure. And when the war ended on Purim, everybody was sure, oh my gosh, Mashiach, where are you? Like, when's he going to reveal himself? And it didn't happen. And then little by little, it was the planning of the Israelis to listen to Americans and not to get involved in this. And that's why we were spared. You know what? We were spared because Hashem had so much Rahmanas on us that we didn't get the hint then, 29 years ago, that Hashem was waiting to give us Geula, but we missed it. It's okay, we'll give you another opportunity. And every few days, months, years, there's opportunities for Mashiach to come. And so the fact that the Zohar Kodesh says Mashiach is going to come on Shavuos, or will be redeemed from the exile, it doesn't say Mashiach will come on Shavuos, it will be redeemed from the exile on Shavuos. I don't know how literally we have to take that, but I think it's important to focus on the concept of what Shavuos is. And Shavuos is really the culmination of all the avodah of Pesach. They say that all the Sfarim Kedoshim explain how that all of Sfiras HaOmer is one long Chol HaMoed between Pesach and Shavuos. They say that Pesach is like the engagement of Klal Yisrael to Kosh Baruch Hu, and Shavuos is like the Chasana. The Gemara in Tainis, B'yom Simchasa, B'yom Chasunasa, B'yom Simchas Libo, Shavuos, Yom Kippur, the time of Kabbalah HaTorah, the time where Uvau Kulam Bevris Yachad, the Yichan Sham Yisrael Neged Ahar, that the Jewish people camped at the base of the mountain like one people. Because we were so united, because we all wanted to have that connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu like a Chassan and Kala. And that's the whole process is really leading up to that. And that's what to the degree a person connects to the Torah, That's the degree he connects to Hashem. But it's all contingent on one thing. To what degree do you connect to each other? And after listening to Rabbi Schwab, I had another chap. You also have to connect to yourself. You know, we're in this world of distractions and all kinds of things that we never really have to think about ourselves even. You know, and back in my day in Neveh, you know, was it 10 years ago, 15 years ago? I don't remember. You know, we were in yeshiva, and, you know, you had to be with each other. And you also had a lot of time to be with yourself, to think. And nowadays we're robbed of that opportunity. We don't have that luxury of thinking for ourselves and being, you know, who we are. You know, there's so many of us here are deep individual neshamas that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created with each and everybody's unique gift to the world. I mean, I see some of the faces that I just want to give a hug and kiss to, but I don't want to smear my screen. But, you know, it's just, each person is a whole world, and everybody's dependent upon each other. We're all dependent upon each other. Nobody, I forgot who it was, gave I think it was official Shachter maybe years ago, says, you have, you know, all the big Rebbes and Rosh Hashivas, there are 9 of them. And, you know, they're waiting for a minyan. And here comes Joe the plumber, or whoever it is, Shmuel the janitor, whatever, he comes in, oh, you need a minyan? They couldn't do anything without him. This is what Klal Yisrael. We can't do anything without each other. We're all interdependent. And we have to give that recognition and have to value that and appreciate that, despite all the differences we have, because Hashem created each and every one of us with our own uniquenesses. And nobody's supposed to be doing what the other person's doing. And I think that this is something that, you know, on Yontif, we have this time, the night of Shavuos, I think the Arizal says, if I'm not mistaken, it's in the Pre-Eitz Chaim, he says that the Haroso Shel Chayav Shel Adam is kavu on this day. Translated, that a person's destiny is determined on the night of Shavuos. The person's destiny is determined on the night of Shavuos. How does that make sense? But if you think about it, and we look at it, and we look at the night of Shavuos as an opportunity for us to recognize, it's like our chasana. It's a time we committed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in an absolute commitment. An eternal commitment, eternal bond. Hashem's committed to us, and we're committed to Him. There's no, it's all dependent, though, how strong you connect is the way that Hashem is going to connect with you. And how strong we're connected to ourselves and to each other. And it's Yisrael v'araisa v'kuchabrichu chadu. In Klal Yisrael, the Torah and HaKadosh Baruch Hu were all one. And I think that this is something that I really hope that we all zocha to utilize the opportunity on the night of Shavuos. We stay up all night. It's a crazy thing. I mean, maybe I'm not sure how many of you guys remember what it was like to be in Neveh, staying up all night. You know, staying up, I don't know what we were doing all night. You know, sometimes we'd rather forget what we were doing all night. But we have an opportunity to connect Hashem and do something that's really nuts. It's nuts thing to do is stay up all night. But we want to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu how much we're willing to leave our comfort zone and go beyond what we feel like doing. I was zocha to share with some of the guys in the West Coast. I see some of them here, but I hope you don't mind me repeating some of it. But there's another aspect on Shavuos also that seems to be a bit of a dichotomy. Because on Shavuos, there's, on the one hand, we stay up all night and we know that we just read Parshas Bamidbar, and Parshas Bamidbar is supposed to remind us that we have to be, in order to receive the Torah, you have to be like mafkir yourself, to be totally batel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like a midbar, ownerless, I'm nothing for myself, I'm a shmata, it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I know Rabbi Charlap has the H Maim and the midbar. I can't go over that now. It's deep, deep, beautiful stuff. But I just wanted to focus on that one aspect of being like a midbar. It seems like in order to receive the Torah, you have to kind of divest yourself of worldly involvement. But on the other hand, it seems to be that the Gemara tells us about Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef, Igla Tilsa, that he would make the choicest of all sides of beef because of the celebration of Shavuos. And he says, Lule hayoma kama Yosef ika b'shuk. If it wasn't for this day, how many Joes would be in the marketplace? I'd be like any other Joe. That means that he was celebrating his connection to Torah by indulging and enjoying the physical world. So do you have to make yourself like a midbar? Or are you supposed to be enjoying the physicality of the world? Which way is it? So some people say, well, before you receive the Torah, you have to make yourself like a midbar. Once you get the Torah, then you're able to be elevated, and then you're able to see the world in a different way. And I think that I wanted to kind of take a little bit of an in-between. I want to say that really that's what we have to live our life in, that balance. Because even after we receive the Torah, we can't just overly indulge. We have to remember, I can't be demanding of the world and expecting of the world to give to me, and that's magiali. But at the same time, when I have a recognition of the beauty that and the unbelievable gifts that Hashem has given me, I want to express it in understanding that I could find Hashem in the physical things. Just like Hashem could find something special about me, despite me being like a midbar, like I'm fallow or desolate and empty and void, but yet Hashem chooses me like a desert. So too, I could look at all the things in the physical world and say, wow, there's Kedusha here, there's a gift of Hashem in everything. And therefore I have to recognize that each and every one of us has such a tremendous potential and such tremendous power, and that we're all interdependent, and we have to keep that balance. And Rabbi Brander from LA said, termed that it's called oneness. I'm able to unify things, both sides of the spectrum. And that's really what Shavuos is about. We came as one people to Har Sinai to become one with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The only way to do that is to also become one with each other, but with one within ourselves. And Hashem should help us that just like when we stood at Har Sinai and dedicated ourselves to get that Torah, the Yetzer Hara was kind of purged from us. It left us. We were like Ish Echad B'Lev Echad. We were like one person with one heart. So how many people do you know have two hearts? Anybody? Two hearts? We all have two hearts. We have two hearts. We have a left side and a right side. Levavecha, we have a right side pushing us to do Torah and mitzvahs, and we have a left side trying to pull us away. But when we stood by Har Sinai as one people and one person, each other, dedicated to be one with Hashem, so Hashem removed that Yetzer Hara from us. And that's what ultimately we're all looking forward that time, that Be'ez Hashem this year, hopefully, with our rededicating ourselves every year to get to that deep level of recognition that Hashem, I really just want to have that deep relationship with you. Klal Yisrael, I want to have that deep relationship with you. And within myself, I have to see, I want to be able to relate to myself and find who I really am. And Be'ez Hashem, when we get ready to do that and we try our hardest, Hashem will hopefully remove that Yetzer Hara. We'll all have that unity. We'll all have that connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and hopefully Hashem will then bring the Goel Tzedek B'mheira B'yameinu. Amen. I'm not sure if I ended too early or late or whatever.
Just on time, Rabbi Slavin. Excellent.
Okay. Shkoyach.
Very good. Shkoyach. His Yasfu Neged Har, it says that Klal Yisrael, when they came to Har Sinai, they went under the mountain. It was said like a barrel, right? So the Ishbitzer says his Yasfu was a form of putting themselves under themselves. They ran under the mountain. They wanted to be squeezed down. Like Hashem, this is where we want to be. So all the guys from all over United States, England, they push themselves. They want to be part of Neveh, connecting themselves to the Torah. Anyway, so Chazdei Hashem, a lot of Divrei Chizuk. And I'm not going to be taking time to talk because we're looking forward to everyone else's drushes. Rabbi Falk, we're looking forward to your Divrei Chizuk. We're hoping Rabbi Falk is available.
Can you hear me, Rabbi?
Yeah, now we hear you, Rabbi Falk.
Got me?
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
You're
Rabbi
heard.
Falk's video is
Hey,
not
very good.
active. Rabbi Falk's video is not active.
It's not active? What do I do?
There
One
should be an
second.
option.
Those are in.
There you
There
go.
you
We're good?
We're good.
We're active now. Everything's good? Are we active, Rabbi Abner?
You're ready.
Ready's on.
Okay, listen, gentlemen, I have a very big problem tonight because I prepared a whole drasha, and then I davened Marav, and I davened really well. And while I was walking home from shul, I realized that there's a beautiful Duvna Magid, which seems to contradict everything that I wanted to say. So, Mitzvah Shem, you guys will help me, and we'll have Siyata Dishmaya, and I hope we'll get through this. There's some very, very beautiful things about Shavuos. It was a very, very strange and special Yom Tov. The Yesod B'Sharash HaAvodah says that Ma mo'od roi la'odom b'chag HaKodosh zman matan teresenu lismoyach b'levovo yosher mikol hachagim. You should be happier on Shavuos than all of the other Yom Tovim. The Yavit says the mitzvah of Simcha on this holy Yom Tov HaKodesh Hazeh, Gedoyla ma'od, v'rabohi al kol simchas hayomim ha'kdoshim. It's a greater Simcha than all the other Yom Tovim. The Sfas Emes says that the Yom Tov of Shavuos is hu achaviv mikol Yom Tovim. It's the most beloved Yom Tov of all of the Yom Tovs, which is Gavaldik. And I prepared a whole sikha explaining why it's so chaviv. But there's a beautiful mashal from the Duvna Magid. The Duvna Magid asks a extremely, extremely good question. If Shavuos is a time when we celebrate the receiving of the Torah, so why in the world is Simchas Torah not on Shavuos? When we dance and we dance and we're sameach with the Torah, that should be on Shavuos. Why did they wait to make Simchas Torah months later? The Duvna Magid says a beautiful mashal. The Duvna Magid says there was once a king, and this king was very, very, very powerful and very, very wealthy, but one thing he did not have, and that was children. He asked his advisors, what should he do? He went to doctors, nobody could help him. Finally, they told him that there's a Jew, a very Pasha Jew, who lives out in a small little town. He's a very holy man, and why don't you go speak to him and see if he can give you a blessing? So the king goes, he gets his wagon, his chariot, and he goes out to visit this Jew. And the Jew listens and listens, and the Jew davens, and finally this tzaddik says to the king, you know what? You, Mitzvah Shem, you can have a child. You will have a child. You will have a daughter. But there's one condition. If she ever sees a man, a male, or if a male sees her until she is married, until she's under the chuppah, she'll die. The king was so happy he was going to have a child. What could he do? So he accepts the restriction. What can he do about it? So he goes and he sets up on an island a palace and a whole town to raise this daughter. And his wife becomes pregnant. He sends his wife over to this island before they have the baby, because as soon as the baby's born, there can be no men around. And the baby goes out, the wife goes to the island, has the baby, and they have teachers for the baby, they have schools, a whole island just of women. And the girl grows up, and B'lian Hora, she's a beautiful girl, and she's an intelligent girl, but she's never seen a man, and a man has never seen her. And if a man looks at her, the tzaddik told her she's going to die. She becomes 18, and the king wants to marry her off. So he makes a big meeting in his palace, and he tells everyone, I have a beautiful daughter, and she's 18, and she's my only daughter, so therefore all that I have, right, will be yours, and I'm looking for an eligible prince to marry my daughter. Everybody's interested. Great. Unbelievable, beautiful girl. They're waiting in line. And the king says, there's just one condition. You can't see her until the chuppah. They're like, why? What's the problem? He says, look, there's a medical issue. You just can't see her until the chuppah. One by one, all these guys, they're like, this is crazy. Obviously, this girl must be, who knows what she looks like. She's probably as stupid as can be. Like the king won't let anybody. He seems ridiculous. I never heard anything like it in my life. Everybody leaves, except there was one prince whose father was very, very connected to the king, very indebted to the king. And the father told him, listen, you have no choice. You're going to have to marry this girl. This poor prince, he didn't know what to do with himself. He knew he probably fell into, she's a witch. Who knows what the heck she is. And he has no choice. What's he going to do? He waits. Finally, it's the day of the chasana. He's dreading it. My gosh, what is she going to look like? Finally, they take him over to the island. The princess is under the chuppah. He walks out to the chuppah, mamish, with his eyes closed. He's like, gewalt, what is she going to look like? And finally, he just opens his eyes. She's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. But then he catches himself. He says, she's gorgeous, but she must be really, really crazy. I mean, she must be a real witch. They have the chasana, and he's sitting there, and he's just waiting for, what's going to happen when we get home. And he can't be misamech at the chasana, really, because he knows he's fallen into a death trap. They go home that night, and they speak, and she's a super intelligent girl. She's gracious, she's kind, she's unbelievable. He's like, I don't know what's going on here. This is crazy. But probably tomorrow morning, the next morning, he sees that she's normal. And she's a great girl. And he's like, I don't know when is she gonna reveal who she really is? A week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. They move back from the island, they go, and she's an unbelievable girl. And finally, he's like, what is the story? And then they tell him the whole story. They said, look, you couldn't meet her because they had this medical issue, but she's a great girl. And the prince is so ecstatic. The simcha that he has, he goes to the king and he says, listen, I want to go away with her on a honeymoon because at the wedding, I couldn't celebrate because I didn't know who she was. I thought I'd fallen into a mess, but now I realize what I got. I want to make a tremendous party. I want to go with her on a honeymoon. I want to celebrate. The Duvna Magid says when Klal Yisrael got the Torah, they didn't know. They didn't know what it was. But after they had the Torah for a while and they learned and they saw how wonderful the Torah is, so then afterwards, then they realized how gewaldic the Torah was, and then they could be misameach. He said that's why Simchas Torah is not on Shavuos, because that was when they first got it, and they didn't know what it was. They'd never really experienced it. After they'd lived Torah, so then already they celebrated. That's what the Duvna Magid says. So Rabbi Sai, I ask you, I don't understand. Why then is Shavuos such a simcha, like the Yesod V'Shorosh Avodah says, like the Sfas Emes says, it is the happiest of all times. The simcha is the greatest simcha. We didn't know what we got yet. So Rabbi Sai, I want to tell you, Shavuos is b'chal very, very, very strange yontif. It's a strange yontif because every yontif that we have, they're mitzvahs. Every yontif has mitzvahs. Pesach, you bring the korban Pesach. You have a mitzvah of eating matzah, the Daled Kaisus. You have mitzvahs. Sukkos. You have Shiva Sukkah. You have Daled Minim. Rosh Hashanah. You have Tkiyah Shofar, Yom Teruah. Yom Kippur is a Yom of Kapara. By every yontif, there's a mitzvah. By Shavuos, what is the mitzvah? There's no mitzvah. What's the mitzvah on Shavuos? More than that. Every yontif has a beautiful name. Pesach. Why is it called Pesach? Because the Korban Pesach and Pasach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he skipped over the houses and he saved us. The name defines the yontif. Sukkos. Because we went out into the Sukkos. Zecher Lanonei HaKoved, the Kadosh Baruch Hu watched over us. Rosh Hashanah is called Yom Teruah. the day of Trua, when we blow shofar to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have the beautiful mitzvah, Tkiyah Shofar, Yom Kippur is a day of kapara. Every name describes the essence of the yontif. What does Shavuos mean? Shavuos are the weeks, the 7 weeks before Shavuos. Gevaldik, so the 7 weeks were Gevaldik. But what is Shavuos about? What is the mitzvah? What is the yontif of Shavuos? So Rabbi Isai, Shavuos is an unbelievable yontif. Because Shavuos, like Rabbi Slavin mentioned before, the Mishnah in Tainus says that Shavuos is Yoyim Chasunosi. It's the day that we got married. It's the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the most precious gift that could be possible. He gave us the Torah. He gave us a connection to Him and a connection to His Torah. Kuchabrichu v'oraiso v'yisro chadu. He gave us, he bonded with us, and we bonded with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that, on this day of Shavuos, it says in all the Sfarim, Reb Dessler says, it says in all the Hasidic Sfarim, that a yontif is not a historical commemoration that something happened in the past, but every year, that same thing happens, that same chasana, that same binding with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, that happens every single year. And it happens, going to happen, Mirza Hashem, this Thursday night. We're going to get married again to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. What is the mitzvah by a chasana? The mitzvah by a chasana is to be happy, is to be misameach. It's to be happy with your kala. It's to see the beauty in your kala. It's to see and build together, a bayis together. And the mitzvah of a chasana is the simcha. The simcha is what it's all about. To be misameach and what we get. We got. Rabbeinu Ashreinu Matoiv Chokenu. Shaloi Osani Goy, we have such a beautiful mahalach of life. Our families are so beautiful. We have such a tool to build with, to build everything, to give ourselves such simcha and such satisfaction, to celebrate that we are the Am Hashem, the Bechirei Anoshus, the chosen people, that we have this unbelievable relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, that we should stop and realize who we are, that we should appreciate it, that we should have a rutzen to connect. The simcha is the mitzvah of Shavuos. That's why all of the chazals that we brought before, how the simcha of Shavuos is so much greater than all other Yom Tovim, because by all other Yom Tovim, the simcha is not the essence of what the Yontif is, but by Shavuos, that simcha is the essence of what the Yontif is, to be misamech in that, in the Torah and who we are, and that connection and our chasana. You don't have to do other mitzvahs at a chasana. The chasana is you're falling in love. You're connecting with your kala. We're connecting with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. We're connecting with the Torah. The simcha is everything. The Nesiv Sholem says, he brings from the Orach Chaim HaKodesh. He says, why is Shavuos called Shavuos? He says, because it is the yontif of 2 Shavuos, 2 oaths. An oath that we took upon ourselves of Nasa Benishma, that we committed ourselves to being dedicated and loyal and being Moiseh Nefesh and to live for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And a second Shvuah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised us that He would never switch us. He would never give up on us. He would never take another nation, that we are His chosen people. We are the Am that He loves and He will stick with forever. Shavuos is what it's all about. There were 2 Shavuos. It describes, it's the essence of the Yontif. It's Chag HaShavuos, where we swear our commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a Shavuah that He will never, ever give up on Klal Yisrael. That's Shavuos, Rabbi Yisrael. The Kedushas Levi says that there's another even deeper meaning in why the simcha of Shavuos is the essence of the Yontif. The Kedushas Levi says that people think sometimes that when they're committing themselves to Torah, to Kabbalas HaTorah, to Ruchnius, so they're deciding and they're picking, they're choosing between Olam Hazeh and between Olam Haba. And they're choosing Olam Haba. They're willing to be Moisei Nefesh. They're willing to suffer. They're willing to dedicate their lives in order to be Zeicha to Olam Haba. The Kedushas Levi says they're making a big mistake. Because when a person commits himself and is Moisei Nefesh and connects with the Kadosh Baruch Hu and connects with the Torah, you're right. He's committing himself that Mitzvah Shem, he will have a beautiful, beautiful Olam Haba. But he is connecting himself with even a more beautiful Olam Hazeh, he says. I want to tell you, I heard a beautiful, beautiful shot from my Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Sender, Zecher Tzadik v'Kodesh L'Vrocha. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that doesn't seem to make sense. The Mishnah says, it's in the 6th parak, the 4th Mishnah. Koch hidarko shel Torah. This is the way, the path of Torah. Pas b'melach toichal. You should eat bread and salt. You will not have luxuries. You will not have delicacies. B'mayim b'mesoira tishne. Even the water that you will drink, it'll be in a measure. You won't have as much as you want. Ba'ala oretz tishan. You might have to sleep on the floor. Not a big fat mattress, not 2 or 3 mattresses like the guys in Neveh have stacked up on each other. Ba'ala oretz tishan. You'll sleep on the floor. V'chayei tzar tichyeh. You will live a life of suffering. But you will toil and you will work in Torah. And if you do it, you will be fortunate and it will be good. It will be good for you and it will be fortunate in this world. And it will be good in the world to come. Now, Rabbi Isai, the Mishnah goes through and describes a life of suffering. Now, I understand a person lives a life of suffering. That's fine. He lives his life of suffering because he's going to be Zeichet Olam Haba. And it says, Chayei Tzar Tichi, you will live a life of suffering. So then what does it mean? Ashrecha v'toivlach, Ashrecha b'olam hazeh. You just described Gehenna in this world. What are you telling me, Ashrecha? B'olam hazeh and toivlach l'olam haba. It's toivlach l'olam haba, but it's not Ashrecha b'olam hazeh. Rabbi Yosef Tzedberg told me, he said over a mashal amad over daimon. He said there were 2 brothers. One of them was very wealthy, and one of them was very, very poor. And the poor brother had a daughter who became 18, and he had to marry her off. And he had no money. So what's he going to do? So he figures, I'll travel to my wealthy brother, and I'll ask my wealthy brother to help me out. So it was a long trip. It was a whole day trip. So he leaves early in the morning. He finally gets to his brother's house in the evening. He comes in. He figures he'll meet his brothers. Brother's probably, sitting at home, having dinner. After dinner, the butler lets him in. He comes in. He says, where's my brother? And the guy says, your brother's not home yet. The brother's like, he's not home yet. Fine. So the brother said, fine, I'll wait for him. Right? He'll probably be home soon. And he waits. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10. The guy doesn't come home. 12 o'clock. 1 o'clock in the morning, finally, his brother comes in. He sees his brother's just like exhausted. He says, oh, dear brother, Shalom Aleichem, how are you? And he goes, listen, brother, I'm really sorry. I'm really tired. You sleep here tonight. I can't. I'm just too tired. We'll speak tomorrow morning. Fine. So the poor brother, the butler, sets him up in bed. He goes to sleep. The rich brother goes to sleep. And the poor brother decides, what, I'm going to get up tomorrow Vasikin. I'll get up early. I'll daven early. I'll come home. My brother came home late today. Who knows? He's probably out partying. I don't know what he was doing. But he'll sleep late tomorrow for sure. I'll be here early anyways. He goes out to daven. He comes home. He gets back 6:30 in the morning. He sits. He's waiting for his brother to get up. The butler brings him some breakfast. He eats some breakfast. He's waiting. 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. His brother's not getting up. The poor brother's like, this is unbelievable. This is the life. This is the life. This is the way the rich people live. 11:30, 12:30, 2:30 in the afternoon. His brother's not up. He goes to the butler. He says, what? This is great. Unbelievable. This is the life. But what time does my brother get up? The butler says, what time does your brother get up? Your brother was up at 5:30. He's gone already. He went to work. The brother's like, went to work 5:30. This is crazy. I'll catch him tonight. The same thing again. The brother comes home at 1 o'clock. He's exhausted. I'll speak to you tomorrow morning. He gets up the next morning. The brother's out 5:30. He comes back 1. Finally, he figures, okay, Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos, he stays there. The poor brother stays there. He's waiting. 20 minutes before Shabbos, 50 minutes before Shabbos, finally the brother comes in. He runs into the shower. He says, we'll speak later. The brother, by the studio at Shabbos, falls asleep in his soup. He is so tired, right? Finally, he goes to sleep. They go through the Shabbos. The brother says, hang on, Motzei Shabbos, we'll speak. But he waits till Motzei Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos, the brother says, Abdullah. As soon as he finishes his Abdullah, he's on the phone, and the rich brother watches him, and he overhears the conversation. Yeah, well, what's the deal? How much do I have to put in? 4 million. How much can I make? I could double my money. How long is it going to take? 2 months. You could put the 2 months, make 4. I'll be there right away. Hangs up the phone, right? The brother grabs his bag. The rich brother, he's on his way out the door. The poor brother grabs me, says, 1 second, this is crazy. You are crazy. You work like a dog. I never saw anything like it in my life. You don't sleep. You run back and forth, back and forth. I thought I was the poor one and you were the rich one. But I live a great life compared to you. You work like a slave. The rich brother tells him, you know what? Sit down, brother. Sit down. I want to explain to you something. You never made a dime in your whole freaking life. You don't know what it is to make money. Do you realize what I'm doing right now? I'm running out. I'm going to invest money for 2 months. I'm going to make $4 million in 2 months. Do you know how gewaltig that is? I love it. It's beautiful. If you would make money once, you would understand. I love what I do. My Rebbe said, that's the pshat in the Mishnah. You can live chayei tzar. It can be hard. You can be struggling. But if you realize what you're living for, and you're doing it for something which is so important, that if you do that, if you live that life, until you live that life, you'll never understand it. You'll look in from the outside and think this guy's crazy. But he realizes how much money he's making. He realizes how much he enjoys what he's doing. He realizes how much it means to me to make that money. You don't understand that because you're looking from the outside. You can live what looks like chayei tzar to other people. But when you live it and you commit yourself and you realize what you're doing is so gewaldig, when you realize you're being ma'aseh nefesh for Torah and how close you're getting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and how it's changing your whole family and how it's changing you and how much geschmack it gives you and how beautiful it is, you're not living chayei tzar b'chlal. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. There could be nothing better. You see Bachrim, there's a Bachar getting married tomorrow night. He was wild. He did all kinds of crazy stuff. He lived all the pleasures of the world. And then he came to Neveh and he started steiging. He got a hold of himself. He started growing. He became mamish just such a beautiful ben Torah. He lives a whole different life now. But the life that he lives now is so much more meaningful. It's so much more beautiful. He loves what he's doing. He gave up all those things that they seemed like that was mamish the greatest pleasures in the world. But now he was toyim. He did it, if you live it. So then you realize how beautiful it is. Rabbi say Shavuos, why are we sameach on Shavuos? The Duvna Magid L'char is right. We should have to wait till later. You know why we're so happy on Shavuos? Because there's no greater simcha than the challenge, than working, than struggling and accomplishing. And Shavuos was the time when we started that journey, when we connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we fell in love with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just like a person gets married, he meets his wife, you don't know what's going to be. You don't know what's going to be. But that day is a beautiful day because together you see each other and you see a future. And you see that you have a tremendous, tremendous job for the future. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have difficulties. You're going to have downfalls, but you're going together. And you're going to do great things, Mitzvah Hashem. There's no happier time, that time when you made that commitment, when you realize, Baruch Hashem, this is what I want to do. I want to take my life. I want to change my life. I want to grow. I will connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you reach up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu reaches down to us, and he says, I love you. And I will stick with you forever, even if you mess up. Even when they were chayte. Through all the nisyanos of the history of the Jewish people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu never left us for a second. There is no greater simcha than that. And that is the tremendous simcha of Shavuos. Shavuos is the commitment, is the marriage, is the bond between us and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that will take us to beautiful, beautiful places. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu cries out like he does every Shavuos, and he asks all the nations, do you want to be Makabel the Torah? And they ask, Ma Kosuv Bo, what does it say? I want to know what it is first. I'm not willing to jump in with you, to be Meiser Nefesh with you. I'm not willing to trust you and to take a journey with you. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks and calls out to every single Yid. And he asks him, please, will you come with me? Will you be Makabel the Torah? Rabbi say, we will scream from the bottom of our hearts back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Nasa Ganishma. Yes, we will go with you. We maybe won't hear in the beginning. We won't understand in the beginning. But we will, Imato Oisekain, we'll do it. We'll live it. And we will accomplish unbelievable things for the world to come and for this world too. Mitzvah Hashem, we should have a gewaldige Shavuos, a gewaldige Kabbalas Torah, and we should all be Zeiche, Mitzvah Hashem, to make a real commitment to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shavuos, the two Shavuos. We will make that Shavuot, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make his Shavuot. And we will be Zeiche, Mitzvah Hashem, to a gewaldige Kabbalas Torah, and we will be Zeiche, Mitzvah Hashem, together, to be Oile to Yerushalayim, Bimheru v'Yameinu, Zeiche to Bias B'Shich Zikenu, Bimheru v'Yameinu, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Falk. Very much, very, as always, inspiring. Simcha itself, it's interesting that Torah, in a certain way, the focus of Shavuos is the emes of Torah, right? Doing the Ratzon Hashem, and yet, it's like putting the right gas into the car. When you put the right gas, the car can hum, it can function beautifully. You get the simchas, you get the emes and the simcha at the same time. Anyway, I don't want to take too much time from the mashgiach. In terms of what we did last time, and we'll do it again. The mashgiach will hopefully say a few words, and then we'll open it up for questions. But since it's easier, guys should please feel free to send me the questions, and then I will ask them to the mashgiach. And for all the rebbeim, their names were posted. Rabbi Schwab told me personally he would love you to be in touch with him. Rabbi Slavin, Rabbi Falk, the mashgiach. We're here to try to give whatever encouragement we can. So, Mr. Hashem, I'd like to ask the mashgiach to say a few words. And again, he would like to open it up for questions and answers. And then if there's any questions, I have a few questions here already. And then if there are other questions, please send them to me and I will ask them to the mashgiach. Mash, please.
Hi, fellows. It's great to be with all of you. And I had computer trouble twice, so I'm just using my phone now. It may not be as clear as a computer, but what can I do? Not computer trouble. I have my, what do you call it? What makes it work? The browser trouble. Anyhow, I want to just, before we open up for questions and comments, I want to just give you a very, very important yesod in understanding what Shavuos is all about. And maybe also in changing ourselves and changing our lives and finding ourselves and finding our lives. So I often speak before Shavuos about the concept that the attitude makes all the difference. It's so important what our attitude is. I want to give you a few examples. One, you'll maybe recall. The first one probably not. One second. Sip, I can't have it. Sip, please. I want to tell you a little bit about the Panovich Rav. The Panovich Rav, Zechon Tzadik Lebracha, I had the tremendous chus of meeting him and listening to his shir and seeing him. He was just an unbelievable person. But he lost everything. In the war in Europe, in the Shoah, he lost everything. He lost his family. Only one child, a son, remained. He lost his whole family. He lost his yeshiva. He had a whole yeshiva. He was a rav. He had a kehillah. He lost everything. And after the war, he came to Israel. Then it was Palestine. And he said, maybe it was, I don't know exactly, but he was quoted as saying that after what I went through, I could give up everything and just, he said, a person who goes through what I went through has to be crazy. But there are two types of crazy people. The crazy people that destroy and break down and have no values. And the crazy people who just build. If I have to be crazy, I might as well build. And he came and he was negotiating to buy a beautiful hill in Bnei Brak. A beautiful hill in Bnei Brak. And the person who was selling him the property came to him when they were about to close the deal. And he said, you know what? I'm going to give you the possibility to cancel everything. Even though we signed already, we made a contract, I'm giving you, you can walk out on it. Why, said the Rav? Why should I walk out? He said, you don't know? You didn't hear? Ramal, the desert fox, that Nazi Yamach Shemo, was going from North Africa, sweeping across North Africa, from west to east. He was at the gates of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. Egypt was suspected Egypt would fall. And then Palestine, that was his goal, to come to Palestine and to wipe out every single Jew in Palestine. And the whole place was petrified. You want to buy property in Bnei Brak when the desert fox is waiting to enter Palestine? And the Panovich Rav looked at him and said, if you have another 10 hills, another 10 properties, yeah. If you have another 10 of them, I'll buy all of them. Because it's not going to be enough for the number of yeshivas that are going to be in Bnei Brak one day. What vision, what insight, what courage. And maybe he knew, I don't know, maybe he knew about the Chofetz Chaim. Maybe he knew of the Chofetz Chaim, Zatzal, right? There's who said that Eretz Israel is never going to fall to the Nazis. When was it? It was on the eve of the Scuds. On the eve of the Scuds, the Persian Gulf War. The Slonimer Rebbe Zichron Tzaddik B'Kodesh L'Bracha came to Neveh. Maybe I'm sure there's plenty of fellows out there that remember. They came to Neveh, and he told, and he told us that Yerushalayim is going to be the Plata, Zion Plata, that it's not going to fall. And supposedly that was also said. That was said by the Chofetz Chaim originally, that Eretz Israel would not fall to the Nazis. But I don't know if he knew that or it's just the Panovich Rav with his emunah and his betochen and his godless that just said, we're here to stay. That's the attitude. He built Panovich and so many other maistos. He built it because he had this unbelievable attitude. The attitude makes the difference. And I always tell the story that once Reb Noach Weinberg Zatzal, Reb Noach, there he's up there, Reb Noach, someone came into him and he said there was two things about this person. One, he had a shiny face. He never saw such happiness. Never saw such happiness. And secondly, he had an artificial leg. He was handicapped. And somehow those two don't always go together. after conversation, he asked him, tell me something. You are so happy, and yet, obviously, you don't have an easy life. And the fellow said to him, when I was 9 years old, I was given the gift of happiness. I have the gift of happiness. And Rev Noach was always searching for, he always would come up to me and ask me, are you happy? And as soon as he asked me, I got depressed. He always come, are you happy? And he was always looking for happiness. So he said, please tell me about the gift of happiness. I want to hear about the gift of happiness. He was 9 years old. He lived in Amsterdam. He was riding his bicycle. It was Amsterdam. We know has a lot of roads between with water and everything. It's not an easy city, and he was going around a sharp curve, and there was a tremendous gust of wind, and suddenly he felt that the bicycle went from underneath him, and he falls into the way of a truck, and he got hit, and suddenly he's numb from pain, but he looks up and he sees that his leg is attached. And he got suddenly very depressed, and he told himself, this is not going to help me. And then he went unconscious. He lost consciousness. He wakes up hours later. He's in the hospital. His friends are around him. His parents are there. And they're all crying. And his mother says, and during her sobbing, she says to him, son, you lost your leg. And he nodded, he says, I know, Mom. And she said, son, you're going to have to get used to it. And he said, no, Mom, you're going to have to get used to it. I'm already used to it. I'm happy that I'm alive. I'm happy that I'm alive. When I was 9 years old and I said that to my mother, I was given the gift of happiness. I'm happy that I'm alive. That's attitude. His whole attitude was, yeah. I mean, he could have pitied himself, self-pity, use it as an excuse not to accomplish anything. How can you expect anything of me? I don't have a leg. Got an artificial leg, but it's not the same. Right? He could have had self-pity his whole life, but he didn't. On the contrary, he was happy that he was alive. And every moment he thanked Hashem that he was alive. That's a gift of happiness. The attitude makes a difference. In these difficult days, these times when we're separate from the yeshivas and from the Batei Knesiot, right? In these difficult times, if we focus on the fact that Hashem is giving us a message, try to hear the message, try to change ourselves, try to open us up to the people that we're separated from, our attitude makes all the difference. And we can explain something about Kabbalah Satira, about Shavuos, about the Yontiv Abba Leinu L'Tova, with this Yesod, that the attitude makes all the difference. Because we all know the Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara in Shabbos, it says, in Peiches, that they went underneath the mountain, and the Gemara says, Melamed to teach us, Shekofa Kodesh Baruch Hu Eilehem, and Kodesh Baruch Hu took the mountain and held it over them, Har Kagigis, like a barrel. And he said to them, Imatem Mekablim Atayra Mutav, good. And if not, Sham Tieh Kvuroschem, that's where you're going to be buried. It was like being forced. It was like coerced to accept Torah. And Tosas right away asks the kasha, why do we need it? We had already said Na'aseh v'nishma. We already previously said Na'aseh v'nishma. So why does Hashem have to coerce us? Very special kasha. The Maral answers the kasha. Maral says it like this. It's true, we said Na'aseh v'nishma. It's true that we didn't need the coercion. But if we would not have had it, we could think that Torah was optional. If we want to, we accept it. If we don't want it, maybe it's too difficult, we don't have to accept it. And then it's business as usual. Life will continue on without us accepting Torah. That would be a terrible mistake. We'd have the wrong perspective. We'd have the wrong perspective. Because Yom HaShishi, in the Brias HaOlam, Hashem said, Yom HaShishi is Sivan, the 6th of Sivan, this coming Thursday night. If we're Makabel Torah Mutav, and if not, I'll return the world to Tohu Vavohu, because the world has no purpose other than us learning Torah. Without Torah, there's purpose, its meaning, the reason why we and the world. Therefore, we had to know. We have to know that it's not an option. It's not a question of if we want, yes, if not, no. We want to know that the whole existence of the universe depends upon Klal Yisrael accepting Torah. And we have to know that if the Torah tells us that we can do something, we have to know, we have to have the attitude that it has to be true, that we can do it. And this is so, so important. It's not, if I can learn Shas, I will. What do you mean? There's an obligation to learn Shas, which means every single Jew has the ability to learn Shas. So it's not if, we can do it. If I have it in me to be kind and humble and have good midos, what do you mean? There's an obligation, Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, to follow the ways of Hashem. There's an obligation of having good midos. If there's an obligation, I can do it. Right? That attitude makes all the difference. It's not if. They once asked, I'm going to forget his name, and that's terrible, but there was someone who gave tremendous gifts to started with mostly Canada. In any case, he gave millions and millions of dollars to build shuls and to build all over, right? He was an extremely wealthy person. And Rav Nata Shiller was the one who was Makarif him, was very close to him. Joe Tannenbaum. Thank you, Yehuda Zimmerman. I appreciate it. Joe Tannenbaum. So Joe Tannenbaum, he started off by building bridges. Afterwards, he went to real estate. He started by building bridges. So I asked him, how is he so wealthy? Not to ask him. So he told me, he said, listen, he said, when the government wants to build a bridge, they say that we want to connect one point with another point. They ask all the people involved, engineers, companies, construction companies, go out and see if you connect these 2 points. Is it possible to build a bridge there? And then come and tell us how much it would cost. He said, well, Joe said, we never asked the question, can you build? They want to connect the 2 points, you can do it. We started off from, okay, what's the best way of doing it? They were a step ahead of everybody else. The attitude makes the difference. And fellas, in our lives and everything that we're doing, especially in these challenging times, we have to have the attitude, right? And if we have the attitude that on Shavuos is going to be, as Falk said, the happiest of all days, we're going to be Makabel Torah, right? In those days, I don't know, I'm not sure that this is what Falk was saying, But on the first Shavuos, maybe according to Dubin Magnet, we didn't know the Kala. We didn't know the Kala. But even though we're going back in time, and we have exactly the same. On Thursday night, this is the Shavuos. This is the Kabbalah's Torah. We're going back in time. This is the time of Kabbalah's Torah. But we are different. We are different. We know. We know what the Kala is like. We know what the Torah is like. And therefore we can have the greatest simcha of all on Shavuos night. And I just want to leave by telling you the Shiloh HaKodesh tells us, and listen to this. How do we learn? We learn with Siyata D'Shemaya. We understand Torah with Siyata D'Shemaya. We need so much Siyata D'Shemaya to understand Torah. Our own keiches, of course, but we need Siyata D'Shemaya. And when is it that it's decided how much Siyata D'Shemaya we're going to have for a whole year of learning Torah? When is it decided? On Shavuos. The Shiloh HaKodesh says it's on Shavuos. Many things are decided on Rosh Hashanah, other things every day. But Siyata D'Shemaya for learning Torah is on Shavuos. How much we need the keich, we need to try to learn, to get excited in our learning, not to waste a moment of this precious day. So that we all of us, together with our brothers and clients, will zeicher the tremendous Siyata D'Shemaya, and we should be able to learn Torah with simcha, right, and understanding and depth, and the Torah should get into our guts and change us, that we can all be of the Hashem and come close to the Bari Olam. Okay, that's what I have to say. Let's.
Mashke, we'll open up a little bit. I just want to say a couple of things, short, before we hopefully field some questions. First of all, I want to say a big yesher koach to all the Rebbeim, in order, Rabbi Schwab, Rabbi Slavin, Rabbi Falk, and of course, the always gives us such chizuk. I also want to thank Sachi Futterman for being the one who kind of got this whole project going with all the Zoom learning. Big yesher koach to him. Joey Apter has been putting in tremendous time, making all of this happen. And now on the team is Yaakov Fleischer, sorry. Yudi also a great guy, but Yaakov's one putting in the time. And Yaakov Kalman, that they're recording the shir and posting the shir and putting it on Facebook. It's been a tremendously, much more successful than we expected. And we're very, very pleased we're able to share the Torah. I also wanted to say that there was one time, I don't know, one of the numerous times when we were in Poland, where the boys were up to some mischievous activities. And I was like, Mashkiach, like, I can't really do this. I think they had stolen pillows or something. And it was like, no, they're just trying to have fun. Like, they're just, So the Panovich Rebbe wasn't the only woman that we can turn to as who had a positive attitude. Sometimes it's been startling to me, my years, Baruch Hashem, with Neveh, Ken Yirbu, just how positive a person could be about, sometimes activity which, the social work department could probably clear everybody away and, take out the whole yeshiva. But even so, there was always been an incredible positive attitude, and Mashkiach has always put that into all of us and into the Talmidim. I also just want to make one more thing. A lot of the guys that are in this group, and Baruch Hashem, we really thank all of you guys for showing up. Are businessmen. So when Rabbi Falk said the mashal about the 4 million making it in 2 months, so sure enough, Sammy Ben Shimon was like, yeah, how do we do that? I'm in. Like, I'll get the money together. So guys, we're all businessmen in happiness. So that when you're going to go for a big deal, you got to look for the people that are good at their business. I'm not going to talk about myself, but I want to tell you, if I was going to invest in a life of happiness and connectedness and feeling the pleasure of this world, I would say, let me get reconnected to Neveh. That's what I would say. Again, I'm just telling you my personal feeling, listening to the Rebbeim, being inspired by the Rebbeim. Guys should feel absolutely, totally free to reach out to the Mashkiach, all the other Rebbeim, We want to share. It's mamish. It's a simchas. It's a Torah's chaim. It's a Torah of simcha, and then we want to try to give over. Yeah. So in terms of the question and answers, I just would like to know, Mashgiach, if you could possibly address to the guys, in terms of, of course we look to our Panovich and we look to our Chavetz Chaims, but here are guys, they're working, they have all the responsibilities, they have their families. How do we translate that yom to take Kabbalah Torah? And again, Shavuos, Mr. Shem, we need that experience. And we put ourselves as fully as we can into being the Kabbalah Torah as much as possible. I just want to know, for the guys, halacha l'maisa, how do we make Kabbalah Torah real for ourselves in a way that is something which we can translate into our day-to-day life?
The first thing to do is to have a very, very special Kabbalah Torah. And I'm not talking about the cheesecake. I'm talking about really trying to learn in the nighttime as much as possible. Those who can't learn at night, to, go to sleep and then get up and learn towards the morning, right? Daven v'sikin. But it's to learn with simcha is a cheesecake and learning also. Yeah. That makes all the difference. To have a very special, to work hard on making Shavuos very, very special, that is the way to begin, and it'll have an effect on the whole year.
Perfect. If there are any questions from the guys, I was expecting some other questions coming in, but I didn't have anything in particular. Anyone else want to, maybe we could do, if you want to throw it out, Joey, maybe guys will raise their hands, and if they want to actually speak, raise a question to the mashgiach. I think that would maybe be something else that we could do, get a little bit more an interactive sort of thing. Anybody who wants to raise their hand, this is an opportunity. You also can ask how much mashgiach, how much you can be donating, and who's going to be like 10,000, 100,000, exactly how that happens. If you want to make, but that'll be simple. That's Simchas Yom Tov for the yeshiva, of course. But again, we're not doing there's no fundraising. This is just giving everybody an opportunity.
I had one question in front of me here. Somebody asked, and heels available around Telstone. Beautiful from Alexander Gully. Beautiful. Yeah, they are, but there's something on one of them that we have to get rid of first, and then you can build your yeshiva there. Okay, now, someone asked, how is Telstone doing? So I just want to tell everybody that Baruch Hashem, the boys have come back. We have 25 fellows that were in villas, and some at different homes, and in Ma'ale Adumim and in Yerushalayim. They have come back. We have 25 fellows now. Rebbeim are going up to the yeshiva. They are learning the basic measures, keeping a distance with masks and so forth, and trying to, right? But they are learning with the boys, and there's some real special learning going on in Telstone, in Neveh. Baruch Hashem, we're not closed. We're still going. I'm a little bit out of it. I haven't been feeling well, but more or less because I'm very concerned about Corona and my wife. And so I'm trying to keep away from right now, but Mitzvah Hashem, I'm going to be going up. I will say a sikha tomorrow. So there are things doing in Telstone. Okay.
Ravi.
Thank you. Yes.
2 questions. One, what is the point of cheesecake that we eat on Shavuos? Is it because of your just chopping off the person's head, or no?
What is the question? What is it?
What's the point of eating milchigs on Shavuos, having cheesecake?
There are many different explanations, right? But it would take time, right? It would take time to kasher the kalim, right? And they didn't have all that time, so it'd be easier to do things out of chalavi and right away when they got the Torah, they would take them time to to kasher everything. So they took the cold milk was much easier to use than the fleshig.
We got the
I'm
Torah
trying
by
to.
Shavuos, not by Har Sinai.
Yeah, no, they got Torah on Shavuos by Har Sinai.
Interesting. I did
Right?
not know that. The
Yeah,
second
Shavuos
thing
was
is,
Har Sinai.
I
Right?
got you. I didn't know that. Second thing is the Poland trip still possibly happening or not for sure yet?
We're not sure yet. We're not sure yet. Rabbi Prager is still talking about it. He wants to make it happen.
I want
Right?
it to happen too, and I can fly down to Israel.
But we have to be sure that we have the right information about what's going on in Poland. If they'll let us to go out and come back, right?
One second,
June,
Eli.
right? The answer is we don't know yet, but we hope to know within a week or so. We hope to know
Okay,
within a week or so.
perfect. And you let the Baruch know if we were able to come back to yeshiva then without being quarantined for 2 weeks.
Yes. And the second that
Right.
they tell us that's, we'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. I know the beautiful Vatorah Rabbi. I really liked it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to speak to you. Oh, maybe Rabbi Slavin could add some more things because I left out a lot about why do we have chalavi.
I can't give you any definitive ideas. I just thought I'd share an idea that sometimes that concept of Shviras HaOmer is a time where we're working to cleanse ourselves, divest ourselves of any remnants of Tumah from Mitzrayim, being there for 400 years, 210 years, whatever the cheshbon you want to use, that we absorbed a lot of tumah, and so through the process of the entire Shviras HaOmer kind of cleansed ourselves so much so that when Shavuos came in, we couldn't have think of eating anything that's red that represents like blood and tumah. So they wanted to have just the white stuff, the milk and stuff like that. But there's minhagim to have one meal milchiks, but then Rav Yosef would make an iglatilsa, so you have fleishiks at another meal. It's just to commemorate the idea and concept. I don't think that that's just another little aspect. There are many, many other ideas. Har Gavnunim is there's 3 or 4 pages just in Tamei Minhagim, and so I can't exhaust that. But just I thought that would be another little idea to share. I'm sure Rabbi Charlap has a bunch of things to say also.
Who instituted the dairy? When did that come into play?
I think it started in Dallas. I mean.
Oh yeah, Chol of Yisrael.
The only thing I could add over here is that the Torah says it's called an Eretz Zavos Cholav Udvash, right? So Eretz Zavos Cholav Udvash, it's flowing with milk and honey. So according to Rashi, and I would like you guys to understand this, and without making any health food jokes, Rashi says it was cholavizim, and the dvash is not bee honey, but it's date honey. So for all of the guys out there that are having problems because they're lactose intolerance, it's only because they're not following the pasuk. And the mice, I once spoke to a big health expert, and the health expert said you should have cholavizim, and Jews can, in fact, we have no problem digesting cholavizim. We'll go, but anyway, I just put a plug in for the health nuts. And the mice that you can make, my wife makes she makes it out of the cheesecake out of goat cheese. Everyone's invited to have real cholav ze'eres zavaz cholav vash, the real thing over here, as opposed to the other cheesecakes, which I don't know what they're made out of. It's not the real thing. Anyone else? Moses, an opportunity here. All right, but listen, I'm going, if it's okay, Mashkiach, if you have questions, let's see. Is anybody else coming up? Anyone? Questions? All right. Joey, maybe we'll, it's hard to listen, to have 40 plus guys playing hard. I'd hate to like end the year. I don't want to be the one to do, I don't want to be the one to do that. So, yeah, we just mute.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Sure, Mashkiach. It's your yeshiva. Yeah, please, Mashkiach.
Okay, the question I have is, if we had Purim and Pesach, didn't we already have Fleischig Kalim?
If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw someplace that the Korban Pesach was on a spit and roasted, and the halachas, let's say, of shechting and castrating the meat and so forth, right, are much easier when it's just dripping. Everything, all the blood comes out from the roasting it, so that was a little bit easier. But to make it for other things, that some of them unfortunately say that it would be more difficult, and therefore they the minhag started. There was a minhag. They ate chalaviv, whatever.
Thank you very much.
If I could just add, I think, Mashka, I never even thought about it. Happening that I'm learning with Rabbi Ho, but the way they roasted it wasn't with a metal skewer. So the Gemara is very specific about roasting it with certain types of wood, because it should be tzli and it should be tzli and not tzli from the metal. So it could be that over there was even easier because they were roasting it actually with a wood skewer as opposed to a metal skewer.
Yes, yeah, they say it also. Yeah. I would like to ask something else. I would like to ask if how are you fellows doing? How are you fellows holding out? Maybe give me a little bit of an insight, just a few words or so about how are you managing in these times, and if anything else will help us. It will help us focus on our tefillas for you guys. So anybody want to say anything?
I would like to, if I'm given the chance. In America, the president of the country has given a go-ahead for all places of worship to be open. A lot of Rabbanim are doing the smart thing and consulting with doctors to see how we're going about it. But even before Trump started with that, particularly here in Baltimore, and I also know that's it's been the case already in New York, that the Rabbanim have been giving permission for small minyanim, backyard minyanim, keeping it to 10, very limited. And I'm personally having difficulty adjusting to this, because of the different Torahs that I encountered from different manhigim around the world. We're saying things like, the situation that we're in, it seems as if we're kicked out of our shuls. Let's all start making improvements coming back to shul the next time around. So now I'm in these backyard minyanim and I'm seeing things that are, it's a little disturbing. People are still talking in this backyard minyan. People are like not focusing their tefillah. The Baal tefillah is ripping through the whole thing. For me, my only solution was just going to the front of the courtyard. So I could just focus on my own Arba Amos. But I'm almost a little flustered, and it's hard for me to get a grip of myself and contain composure and not be judgmental. I just need some chizuk to be able to go into tefillah b'simcha. I don't know if it's supposed to go into tefillah b'simcha. I'm not supposed to go through all the emotions, to plug myself into Hashem with my whole heart, but I'm just having a difficult time.
Thanks so much for sharing, Group Jack. Thank you so much.
So is anybody going to address it, or should we?
I can address it if you want to hear.
Mash, could I say something?
Yes, of course.
Okay, welcome to America. I'm Assistant George Ford, calling from Baltimore. In Baltimore, one of the issues is we have a lot of children, Blian Hara, and the city has been very, very cooperative, and they have programs. They have breakfast, lunch, and dinner for all the kids, regardless of finances and regardless of what you have or what you don't have. And they made it totally, totally open to the public. And the benefit of this is that, first of all, you don't have to go shopping, which is one of the biggest problems we have here, is to go shopping. So that takes the burden of shopping mostly. And the meals are quite nutritious. There's a lot of food. People in my age bracket end up picking up all the extra, getting all the extras that people don't like. And so we've been, and it's been a very interesting experience. You see that the neighborhoods all get together and take care of each other. It's really a beautiful thing.
Yes, it's very, very special to see. Very special to see how much people are helping each other, and not just the governments, but we get packages from all over, and for the times when we really did want to go out and shop and we couldn't, Baruch Hashem, we had more than enough to eat. People are being very helpful with each other, and that's very special. And Mika Amcha Yisrael, Hashem should see all that we're doing for each other.
Exactly. We should all be together soon.
Yes.
I just want to. I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds. And Yaakov had something that pained him. Baruch Hashem, there's such beauty, that we see community has achdus, but the achdus is like we've said before, is a prerequisite for Kabbalas Torah. But there is something that sometimes Hashem also we have to have. Sometimes a lot of I've experienced working in a place called Neveh Tzion. A lot of times people have this idea that I could do religion on my own terms. I could do it the way I want to do it because I'm about tshuva. So I like this, but I don't like this. So I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And so sometimes people realize it may be at the beginning, I'm only going to be able to do what I can handle, which is the correct approach. But to say something is not applicable at all, or just that's also not true. To say something it's not, I'm not ready for it, is the better approach. And I think that sometimes people, the boundary gets blurred, and sometimes people think I'm doing God such a favor that I'm davening it all, that like nothing else matters, and therefore if I show up to shul, it's a big thing. So I'm not saying that that's the proper approach, but sometimes people don't know how to balance it. And I'm not saying that I don't want to berate anybody who's for them it's a big avoda to come to shul. As a matter of fact, the Gemara in Chagiga says that on Hakel they would have the men, women, and children would have to come, and they say, why did the men came? They came to learn. Why did the women came? In order to hear what they had to do. So they asked, well, why did the children come? To give schar to those that brought them to the shul. So people say, when they came to hear Hakel, everybody was quiet. All the kids were perfect, But nowadays, if you're bringing your kid to shul, make sure he's quiet. I don't know what it was in Hakel. I don't remember. Although we zocha to see it ourselves. But I think that there's something that I just so happened that Yaakov asked the question. I just was looking, I found this old sefer. It's called Masak Lenefesh. Last time it was printed is somewhere in Livorno in Italy about 180 years ago. I think it was the first time and the last time it was printed. But I was looking through it, and some other person owned this sefer, and he had put an interesting thing in handwriting. And that's probably also 150 years old. And he's talking about we got kicked out of Eretz Yisrael because we didn't have proper conduct in a shul. And I think that there's something that, here in Eretz Yisrael, we're re-entering shuls to, within a certain amount of people, a certain amount of area with distancing and masks and everything. And, it's a beautiful thing. But when we walked into the shul, I was hoping that there'd be some kind of aura, some kind of excitement. You know, the pasuk says, Beis Hashem Nelech B'Ragesh, going to Hashem's house with Ragesh. And I realized, wait a second, Beis Hashem Nelech B'Ragesh. Is this Beis Hashem or is this my house, my shul? Am I going there for myself? Beis Hashem, you know, so there are many letters of many gedolim, unbelievable people that I wish I could be, you know, some of the, you know, the dirt in their toenail. But, you know, and they said, like, you know, we should be zocher to go back to our shuls. I saw gedolim in America, gedolim in Eretz Yisrael wrote that, and it really pained me because every time we count Sfiras Omer, we're saying, Rachamanu Yachzir Lanu Avodas Beis Hamikdash Limkoma B'Mheira B'Meinu Amensela. Hashem, let us be back to the Beis Hamikdash. I would just go back to my shul. Oh, can't wait to get back to my shul. Rachamanu Yachzir Lanu. What do you mean Lachzir Lanu? Give us back. It's only if you had something and you're missing it, can you get it back. But if you never had it to begin with, how can you ask to get it back? So we're asking, Harachamanu Yachzir Lanu, because we have to dig deep inside of ourselves. That's probably the reason why we had this davening by ourselves, that we would have this yearning to have a connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu in the Beis Hamikdash. Because you know what? If you can't go to the shul, you don't know which direction Yerushalayim is. You're supposed to imagine you're facing the Beis Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's what you have to daven when you're alone. You don't know which direction to daven. Is you have to imagine you're in the Beis Hamikdash. If we can't, how many people thought they were in the Beis Hamikdash? Oh, which way is Mizrach? Okay, it's Chatayani Maskir Yom. Sometimes I found myself like starting and like, wait a second, wait. I shouldn't be on autopilot. Times are different. So can I say, Arachamanu Yachzir Lanu Avodas Beis Hamikdash Im Kanu L'Mheira Mein Tzelem? So on this little sideline, he says an amazing thing. He says, you know, we were kicked out of the base of Eretz Yisrael because there were kitrugim, there were prosecuting forces that said, like, Chas v'shalom, the goyim, when they go into their base tiflis, the Purim, they're a pin drop. You know, the Archbishop of Canterbury with his red yarmulke and whatever, carrying his besamim and his matzahs, whatever, I don't know who he's doing what, but whatever, these people, there's decorum. And we go into our shul, and he says that people make it look like the purpose of a shul is a social hall. And he says, really, Hashem yilochem lachem va'atem tacharishun. Hashem will wage battle for you. Contingent is atem tacharishun, if you're silent in Hashem's shul. And that, I think, is a big thing that we have to, people have makabel themselves. I saw this thing that was going around, just leave it out, or I don't know, put your phone off, turn your phone off, whatever it is that they were, these Kabbalahs people are making to go back to shul. Beautiful. But what about, making a Kabbalah? I have to have a different approach totally to my shul. I got to make sure not only I have distractions, but not even with my friends. It's not just the phones, and I can say, well, if I don't have my phone, you have to have a totally different frame of mind. And I think that there's something that we hope that people would learn this, but not everybody has the same sensitivity. And not everybody has that schus. And, hopefully, I think that if we go and scream at people, no, shul, no, I don't think that's going to help either. And we have to be able to figure out ways of maybe approaching people and trying to inform them in a loving way, in a kind way. Maybe put a little Bar Torah on their stender or something like that, or in shul for in general, or some kind of sign, just try to get people's awareness. But even if you're aware, I try to be aware, and sometimes I find myself slipping back into the old patterns that are not so positive. So, we hope that the people who go to shul and still talk, maybe they just slipped back into an old habit. It's hard to change. We can't expect people to be perfect. And, Hashem should help that we should all be zocha. I just saw something beautiful. It's a Torah that's in from many different Hasidic Sfarim. It's from the Marinaim, from the Kutab Maran, the many different places that talks about if you judge somebody favorably, that will give them the power to change themselves to the better. Because when you see the goodness in a person, that kind of like connects a charge between your neshama, which is a chelak elokami mal, and their neshama, which is a chelak elokami mal. And instead of you berating them and putting them down, you try to like give them something positive of yourself and giving them a smile. Oh, so good to see you in shul. Forget about all the other complaints we have. And just in your mind, just radiate, you're a holy neshama. That hopefully will affect them. It will give them that some NFC charge, and hopefully it'll charge their neshama to feel something. It might not work right away, but we're not looking for the magic switch. We want to help affect a greater change. And hopefully, if we do that, Bez Hashem, well, maybe we'll be zocha to having everybody do it the right way. Sorry about that rant.
That was a very good answer. Thank you very much, Rabbi. They hit the spot.
Okay, Jacques.
I just wanted to add, Rav David. I heard a few times already in the name of Rav Shamshin Falk Hirsch, the Colonel of Bracha, said he was talking about 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He said he had the opportunity, the power to do it. He would shut down all of the shuls for 100 years. 100 years. Because he felt that that's how long it would take for a full generation growing up without shuls to actually appreciate what it means to walk into a shul and talk to the Rabbeinu Shalom. In a similar way, I remember a Friedlander, Zichron Levracha, telling me that there was a certain Hasidus where they did not teach the children or allow the children to daven until shortly before the bar mitzvah bas mitzvah. So that it would be a special thing. It wouldn't feel like this terrible burden of something that you got to do every day. On another note, in terms of, it's very hard, but Jack, but one thing I wanted to say that I was thinking about this today while I was listening to the Rebbeim speak. There's something very, very special about the Yom Tovim, in that on Pesach, there are some people who, before Magid, they start with a shtickle from the Zohar that says that when we're sitting in our homes and we're telling over the story of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls to his malachim and says, "Come with me. Let's listen to how the Yidden are praising me and telling over the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim." On Shavuos, we all know from the song, when we're sitting and learning Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls together right? It says, Chazum, take a look. See this closeness that the Yidden are ignoring the difficult things they have going on in the sitting and learning Torah. And on Sukkot, it's even more so because we're walking into the Tzila D'Mei Menusa with the Shechina and the Shiva Royim. It's amazing. And we know that what is the highest form of happiness in the world is Tzadikim Yoshvin Nenim Ziv HaShechina. When we are in the presence of the Rabbeinu Shalom, of the Shechina, of a palpable presence of the Rabbeinu Shalom, and connecting with that is the greatest reward for Olam Haba. And when the Yom comes, it's available to us. It's within reach. Because the Rabbeinu Shalom is coming to the Malachim, or we're going into his sukkah. I just want to end up with one quick thing. I know that there's a lot of good things going on in shuls all over the world. One thing I'm not sure is happening too much in these shuls is people pashat talking to Hashem. We're davening, we're singing. I'm not even talking people talking in shul. People who are going to shul to do what you're supposed to do in shul. But are you really talking to God? Are you saying, Tata, can you help me out here? And personally, I feel that this whole business with the corona, with the shuls being shut down and everything else, was a message from the Eibishter. Kindle, I want to hear from you. Talk to me. Talk to me. And by taking us out of that shul experience, as difficult as it is, it somehow made it a lot easier, I think, on a personal level, to have a one-on-one conversations with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The trick now, and this is not even, I don't even say the trick. The idea now is to take that concept that you've been practicing for the last couple of months of talking directly with Hashem and saying, okay, I'm going into shul, but that doesn't mean that I lost that personal relationship with God. I have to maintain that in shul. That is the goal. This is what davening is all about. At the end of the day, forget all the formal words, forget the tail, forget everything. Just say, Kata, please, I'm suffering. I need help. Please help me. Please make sure I have parnasa. Please make sure I'm not going crazy from my kids in this corona. Make sure that everybody gets healthy. Whatever you need, talk to him. Tell him about your day. I mean, the famous story is somebody who heard somebody at the Kaisel. You ever heard somebody at the Kaisel davening to Hashem, and he heard him telling Hashem, I'm here. No, I told you that yesterday. Just have a conversation. Oh,
their fingers.
Anyway, these are the things that we need. Every one of us needs to take away from the experience of what went on. And as we know, when we learn from the experience, then we have the ability to stop the problem from reoccurring. Because if we've learned our lesson, then it shouldn't be any kind of no need for fear of this. So I think that's very important. That if we take these things on and we try to improve our direct connection with the Rebbeinu Shalom, with Hashem, that's chus alone will show that we've learned the message of Corona, and we won't need it anymore. Anyway, it's great to see people I haven't seen in many, many years. I was never a Rebbe in Neveh. I was a bacher at Neveh many years ago. I was in Kolel for many years, and I've kept up my connection, Baruch Hashem. And I have to say, it's wonderful to see everybody getting together. All stripes, all shapes, all sizes, and with this first to hear. All
beautiful.
Of them. Okay, and I'm really hoping that even long after the corona is gone, that Mitzvah Hashem, we should keep this up. Because this for me is incredible. Okay? And, the truth is, I try to go to Neveh one afternoon every week. This is actually easier in many ways, and a lot more people can join. And I can see people that I haven't seen in many years. So keep up the good work, guys. Have a great day.
Sky, thank you.
Rabbi
So
Slavin's
I just
hand
wanted,
is up.
I just
Also,
wanted
Cordo
to say
has a
something.
question.
Yeah, I want to say something real quick. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for putting this together. All the Rebbeim, Joe Apter, everyone else who's involved. This is amazing. I just want to say a couple. Wow, no. Why should I put my video when I
Show us the punim? Show us the punim,
when I'm
please.
looking at you, Mr. Scalar, Rep Scalar? No one wants to see me. But just real quickly, I wanted to say a couple points. So first of all, as much as I appreciate, this idea of, okay, why this happened, we're not davening in shuls correctly, whatever. I think that's missing the point completely, right? I think that of course, you know, we could always do better as a kahila, and you could always find fault in someone else, do better, daven. But you know what? Maybe the guy that you're in the backyard minyan right now, that you know you're in the courtyard, you know, whoever brought this up, and the guy that's talking, maybe he's never been to a minyan before. Maybe this is his connection where like he can't daven at home, he can't whatever. And okay, fine, maybe he's not doing it right, maybe he can talk less, maybe he can connect more. But like if you look at the positive, right? Like you have to look at the positive things. Like it's not about somebody else, it's about you, it's about the individual. And something that I thought about is like, if you look at this whole pandemic in general, right? The entire world is in the same situation. The entire world is quarantined. But if you really dive down and go into it deeply, it's like, even though we're all quarantined together, each individual person is quarantined in a different way. Some people are by themselves, like Pash and Mamish, by themselves completely. Spend Pesach, Sidarim alone, by themselves. Some people are with their families, some people with their parents, some people, everyone is quarantined in a different way. And it's and to me, it's an individual basis, right? It's like, what can I do to get better? What am I trying to, how am I bettering myself? Not oh, this person needs to talk because and that's why it happened, or this or you know, it's how do I do better as an individual to make myself better? Like Hashem put me specifically in quarantine in a certain way. So how am I going to make myself better? So I just wanted to bring that up. I think that looking at other people and saying, oh, he's still talking and still, I think it's the wrong approach completely. That's you know, going back to, you know, judging other people and not being positive about the situation that we're in. I don't think that's the point at all. I think it's how do I do better? Now that I'm in shul, now that I finally got to go, I can't go to a minyan. That was kind of my next question. I can't, here in Michigan, cannot go to a minyan. They even though they've reopened and they said that minyanim are now, or houses of worship are now essential. The VOD in Detroit have gone together and said, we still have to wait 14 days. And that means that I'm not going to hear a Ser Sedibris on Shavuos in a minyan. I'm not gonna hear that. And it's bothersome, but like, you know, at the end of the day, you're, you know, whoever said that they're in a minyan, you're in a minyan. You should be so thankful for that, and like continue to work on yourself to make yourself better. Don't worry about the other person. You know, maybe he's doing the best that he can, even though he's talking in the minyan. Maybe he's doing the best that he can. You know, maybe he didn't go to a minyan before. Now he's there. He's part of it. So I think that should be the outlook. I think that like when we really look and see that like each individual person is quarantined in a different way, and it's like you know, I'm quarantined with my family, with my immediate family, my wife and my kids, and nobody else, not my parents, not my brothers. I can't see anybody. And I realize, you know, there's a reason for that. It's helped me connect to my family. It's helped me connect to my wife. It's helped me in so many different ways on a personal level. And then the person, my really good friend, you know, he spent Pesach by himself. He's by himself. He can't see anybody, can't go anywhere. He needed to work on himself. He had things that he had to do on his own, you know? And like, I think that's the whole idea. A question I had for the Rebbeim, can everyone still hear me? A quick question I had for the Rebbeim.
Yes, sir, Captain.
Okay, so in Michigan here, like I just said, they've just extended it, and I mean, sorry, they've just allowed it, but the Rabbanim have said no, we have to wait for Pikuach Nefesh and so on. And I don't know, for some reason it doesn't sit well with me. I'm kind of thinking like, listen, I get it. There's certain people who are more prone to being more damaging. They can't go. I get it, right? But there's certain people who don't mind taking that risk, or feel like they've already been, you know, whatever, or feel like they're ready to join into a minyan. And when I talked to my rabbi here, he said, listen, I asked a shout to my rebbeim, and you know, big rebbeim that he's. And they said that this is what we should do because of the Pikuach Nefesh. And I tried to explain to them. I said, you know, look, we're in Parshas Ben Min, where we talk about all the Nesiim, and one of the Nesiim that we talk about is Nachshon ben Aminadab. And a lot of the Midrashim, I think in Gemara Sota, I think I read, it says that like everyone's told Nachshon he was crazy. Everyone was like, no, we're not jumping in. A lot of people even said, let's turn back. Let's go back to Mitzrayim. And Nachshon was like, no. He jumped in. And when he jumped in, no one followed him. To the point where even Moshe Rabbeinu was like, was davening to Hashem, what should I do? And Hashem's like, hello, what are you davening to me for? Your people are drowning. Just go, put your stick over and it will, what's it called? And I feel like at this point, like, I mean, this is, you know, is this not the time to be nachshon? Is this not the time to be like, no, we can't, you know, follow these political agendas. And I get it. I'm not trying to question the Rebbeim that said this. That's not my point. But like, it's still bothering me, and I guess would like a little bit of guidance on, like, you know, how to like think about it.
Okay, I want to take this one, David. I hope you don't mind.
The Masha's back. He just has to unmute himself.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes. First of all, Nachshon heard that from Moshe Rabbeinu that Hashem said to go forward, right? And when Hashem says to go forward, you don't have to have shilas. You go forward, right? So that was why he jumped in, and that made the Yeshua. But today it's a difficult cheshbon on nefesh. It's a difficult question, and the Rebbeim in Detroit probably understand, or Michigan, I'm sorry, probably understand that for some reason they feel that it's just not yet safe to go, and it is a question of pikuach nefashos. So you know, we have to listen to our Rebbeim.
That's what I needed to hear. Thank you, Mash. I was okay. I listen. I hear that. I definitely hear that point, and to, you know, again, to some extent, I feel like maybe there might be political agendas, or why, you know, maybe the people that are okay with it should go ahead and do it. But I definitely understand what you're saying, and I definitely accept it. I mean, I told my rabbi, you know, I said, listen, I'm definitely not going to arrange or do anything, or I mean, listen, if you're the Rav of the community, I'm definitely not going to. But you know, I still had the question, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. I don't know who's whatever. I would just like to read from the Tamei HaMinhagim. Tamei HaMinhagim. It says like this: that until Matan Torah, we didn't have the tzivui of shchita and ma'achos asuros, and therefore all the kalim became aser, and the Torah was given on Shabbos, Liyama, and then Yontif, and we didn't have a chance to do Hagalas Kalim. You couldn't kasher the Kalim then, and therefore they ate machlei chalav and b'chag Shavuos, and therefore zeicha to that we also do it. That's the time that's given. One of the time, there's all kinds of time given. Chalav is chesed. There's many reasons given, but that's said in the Tamei Minhagim.
Okay, Mash.
Okay.
Regarding
Yes.
regarding that thing, I have two problems with it. First of all, we know that the halachas of Hagalas Kalim were only given to Klal Yisrael and taught to Klal Yisrael after the Milchama with Midian in the 40th year in the desert. That's the first thing. The second thing is they ate slav, which is a bird. And we know that Basar Oif B'chalav is only D'Rabbanan. So there was no problem. You don't really see too many places where they ate meat, and certainly not, I mean, in general, we say Stam Kalim Enon B'nei Yoiman, and in the Torah, you don't have a problem because of Noisim Tam Lifgam. So it's
that's why. By the way, I didn't mention. You know, I don't think any of us mentioned it because there are a lot of issues, and we could spend all night discussing it. But
no, I agree.
I am not in the sugya. I am not in the sugya, and you're asking some very good questions. But I'm personally not in the sugya. But I just want to say that Talmud is found in the Tamei Minhagim, and someone should make a chabur on it. It's a good make a chabur on it and send it to me, please.
Oh boy. Maybe after my mother's yard site, I'll have a little time.
Hi, David Fader. Hi.
Hi, Rebbe, Shalom Aleichem. It's David Fader and Lloyd.
Hey, Rebbe. Long time no see. How are you?
Rabbi Slavin.
Within social distance, please.
Whoa.
Rebbe, Mash.
Hey, Mosh, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. It's very good to see you.
David,
Very good
Mash.
to see you. It's been a while.
You guys. We're talking, we're doing like a shear right now.
We are doing shear.
Shear on the golf course.
Gewaldig.
Rebbe, we have a dialogue. Has there ever been a test to see if Shemitah provides a double bounty?
Yeah, for many hundreds of years. Hundreds of years.
I'm saying in modern times, can we test to see if Shemitah would provide an excess bounty today?
They've seen that here in the many moshavim, especially in Komamius and other moshavim that have kept Shemitah. They've seen unbelievable Yeshuas. Usually the year before, during, and after Shemitah year, they have unbelievable things. Even the Shemitah year have unbelievable Tziyat Dishmaya.
I want to do a controlled study where we get a Jewish farmer, we get a Goyish farmer, and I want to do the Shemitah year, and I want to see who has a bigger bounty in the 6th year. We need a very controlled study.
I'll give you the Shemitah challenge. You come to Komamius. We'll spend a few weeks there. We'll see the Arabs' farms about a kilometer away and see the Yiddish farmers. Or you'll see the Jewish farmers and the ones that don't keep Shemitah.
Same irrigation, controlled study.
Yeah, so
I think they're talking about a different kind of farming.
We could use the results to determine if Falk is like the Chazon Ish or like Bnei Yerushalayim as to whether Goyim can be mafkia kedusha Shemitah from the land.
But you'll see it. It's been documented many times. You can see it. It's really
Okay.
amazing.
Thank you.
That's one of the reasons in Bahar 2 weeks ago when we read Bahar Bechukosai that they say that Hashem started teaching the laws of Shemitah in Har Sinai. What do they have to teach the laws of Shemitah in Har Sinai for? Ma'inin Shemitah Har Sinai. That's outside of Eretz Yisrael. They're not going to be in Eretz Yisrael for years. What do you teach them the halachas over there? So many meforshim, the Mash just told me that he heard from his Rebbe Weinberg's of Noach had said that that's one of the biggest proofs that the Torah is from Hashem, because nobody can make a claim that you will have a bounty on the 6th year if you can't guarantee it's true. How would God put himself up and make him so vulnerable to say that's the reality? When you go into Eretz Yisrael, you're going to see this happen. If it couldn't,
Although I do think that the best claims are the ones that can't be proven for like years out, because then, the best predictions are the ones that can never, in your lifetime can't be disproven.
Well, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to prove it?
Well, but you might get proven wrong. This way you could look like a hero and say, we just haven't gotten to Israel yet. Trust me, when we get there, you'll see.
Yeah, but that's when they got there, they saw it.
But you could kick the can down the road.
Saying we proved it. He's saying we could prove it.
Well, let's run the study.
So, Rebbe, we basically what we're trying to say is you need to run a study. We want to come, and we're hoping that we can
make
help.
a Yarchi Kala. The Mash will host everybody. Everybody can stay in the Bay over the summer. We'll go to the farms and we'll bring seeds. I'm not going to say what kind of seeds you're going to bring. So we'll plant. It's got to be edible. Oh no, edibles.
Well, it'll be edibles. It'll be edibles.
It's a deal. It's a deal. Everybody's invited. Anybody wants to work on it is invited.
David Fader, can you leave us with a joke or like a one-liner? Give us something.
This is not the
time.
This is not the occasion.
What's up, David?
This is not the occasion.
Shkayach, thank you very much, Rebbe. Rebbe's.
Okay, you're welcome. That was a hole-in-one. It was very good.
Nice.
David had a few close calls today. He almost had a hole in it.
No birdies, huh?
Plenty of birdies.
Great seeing you guys.
Thank you very much, Rebbe.
By the bench.
By the way.
He's calling from the, David Faber's calling from the, whatchamacallit, from the,
All righty.
He's on a golf course with another Neveh guy. I haven't seen him all the time. Whatever. So I said that was.
All right, Mosh. I think we're dwindling down here.
Yeah, my wife just told me that she would like to eat some dinner. So it's whatever it is. It's a 5 to 11, so maybe we should eat some supper.
All right,
So I
everybody.
think
Have
I'm
a
going to sign.
great day. A good
Have a
chodesh.
great day and
Have a great day.
good chodesh and B'seres
Chodesh Tov.
Chag
Thank you
Sameach.
so much.
And Chag Sameach, everybody. Chag Sameach.
All right.
Imagine Hashem made this come about at the right time.
Yes.
Peace.